Hey, welcome to another video from the Outdoor Analyst. Guys, I have a super fun video for you today. Today is just gonna be a lot of fun because this is gonna be a knife off versus basically between two incredible knives that are also incredibly similar. And it's kind of a question that I do get, and it's, what do you like better? The Bark River Aurora or the LT Wright GNS? And honestly, I figured I'd just break them out. These are two very similar knives, two companies doing the exact same style, just in different ways. They're both premium, and honestly, when it comes to price, they're both fairly close. LT Wright's gonna be a little bit less expensive, and it'll have, I think, it may actually have more steel options than Bark River, surprisingly. But these are two awesome bushcraft knives. And I think this is like the style that everybody really thinks as the ultimate bushcraft style. It's a little bit of a drop point. They are center line, so they're center from the back of the handle to the tip of the blade on both of them. So if you're gonna be doing a bow drill work, and no, I will not do that on my fantastic table here. This thing was a lot of work to make, and I'm not gonna ruin it. These are both really awesome options, and really I just kind of want to go over the differences and what I'd probably pick one up for depending on what I was going to be doing versus the other. Well, I guess I'll just start with the handles. This is going to be the main true difference, is the way these guys do the handle. You have the exact same length as far as where your fingers can go. They really do meet up about the butt, so same amount. My large to XL hands hold these really well. There's still room to play forward and back, so you can really choke up on them. And I think really the truth is the guard is the main difference. There is a much more prominent guard on the LT Wright versus Bark River kind of leaves it open here, and you just have to use the blade steel itself as part of the guard. So I think personally, in that area, the LT Wright feels a little more comfy, whereas you just have a little protrusion that's actually hitting your finger right there. So a little bit different there. The palm swells are different, but in the same spot. I'd say there's more contouring on the LT Wright, but the Bark River's a little thicker in the middle and on the back end. It's kind of a draw there. They're both really comfortable. I'd say the back end might be a little more comfortable on the Bark River, but the front end is more comfortable on the LT Wright. And that's kind of where you spend more time on a knife like this, is the front, is that guard area. Both are extremely comfortable. No qualms about it. I think I have a slight preference for the LT Wright's handle. It just fits my hand a little more, and when you're actually doing work for like 30 minutes straight to an hour, the LT Wright gives less fatigue, just for my hands. There's not much fatigue really between any. We're talking about just like slight preferences. So your hands may be different. Blade thickness. The LT Wright's going to be a little bit thicker. It's going to be a little bit thinner than the Bark River. Bark River is a little bit thicker in the blade, and it is also a full convex, kind of a little bit of a saber up here, but not really much. It's almost a full height convex. It doesn't split too much better with just that little bit of a saber there, whereas this is a full Scandi from LT Wright, and they do this in a saber grind, and they kind of convex the edge a little at the bottom here too. So you're sort of dealing with something similar, but not necessarily the same. I will say this, the differences are really this. If you're doing a pure woodsworking knife, the Scandi from LT Wright is going to do a little bit better job. It gives you the ability to do light feathers, but it also gives you the ability to dig in on really crappy wood and actually get good feathers. You can get probably finer feathers off of a convex. Bark River's convexes are very thin at the edge. So you get these really cool like angel curls, but if you have a crappy piece of wood, it's harder to make feathers, and it's much easier with a Scandi. That's really your difference. So for woodsworking, I will give the preference to the LT Wright, but for more like food prep, camp work, this convex, this basically a full height convex, does it so much better. It does not split out nearly as much as the LT Wright does, being a Scandi. It'll chunk out more. Now, this is thinner, so it still does an okay job, unlike veggies and food, but it's just common sense that the convex will do better. So for an all-around camp knife, I'm actually gonna give the edge to the Bark River here. It is just gonna do those slicey tasks a little better, because that's the way that blade is designed. Whereas this is not gonna do the slicey tasks as well. It's thinner, so it's not too bad, but it's just not as good. And I will say that steel differences, you can get all these knives in different steels. For Bark River, it's mostly just gonna be A2 and 3V, and every now and then they'll do runs of like crew wear. They'll probably do a Magna Cut run. And then for LT Wright, they do 01 AEBL, which is kind of a pretty tough stainless steel. And also they do A2 and then CPM 3V. So I think you have a few more options generally with the LT Wright, whereas they usually just do one big run of either A2 or 3V for the Aurora, and then a specialty run every now and then. So those are kind of give and take. Honestly, I would rather have this in A2. This one's in CPM 3V. And this one's an 01. I'd probably rather have it in A2 as well. I like 01 though. It's just super simple to sharpen back up. And I like that with my Bushcraft knives. I really do. If I'm just doing wood, you can still have pretty much a hair popping edge on 01 if you're doing it for hours and hours. And then at the end of the day, just strap it back up a few times and you've still got it, and you're almost back to brand new. Not so much with 3V. This is gonna take some work to strap back up to that hair popping edge, which is kind of why I like A2. It's faster. You know, you get probably get an extra day of work out of 3V without having to mess with it, but when you do, it just takes a lot more time. So that's just kind of my preference. I'm honestly going for nearly the softer steels these days because I like it more. I like my ability to sharpen them more. And I will say, this is my second GNS. I had another one in AEBL. I shouldn't have gotten rid of it. It was kind of like my winter Bushcraft knife. It had a really cool like rock tread handle on it. And I just, I was flipping stuff through and whatever. Stuff comes, stuff goes. Easy come, easy go. And I am borrowing the Aurora here. And someone may ask, like, why are you borrowing this and you don't have one? Well, because I have a knife that has basically the same handle. I have the Tundra. This is my sort of same exact handle as the Aurora. They built the handle off the Aurora, and it has a little bit more belly to the blade, and I like that a lot because it's the Canadian style blade. And on this one, you can see the handle scales, just because it's Bark River, you don't know what you're really gonna get. The handle scales come up higher than on my Aurora. So for me, it gives me more of a guard, and it feels more comfortable in my hands. I almost have zero bit of the blade being my guard, whereas I have that here on this one. I can definitely tell it's there. And it's a little thicker on this area here, so it kind of like pops out a little bit, and I really like that. This handle, perfect for me, and that's why I have a Tundra, so I don't really need an Aurora, to be honest with you. They're very, very similar. They do just about the same thing. I like the style a little better. And yeah, that's really that. So that's just kind of a little different comparison. A little extra knife to throw in there. But for two knives that have the exact same style, I don't think you can really go wrong in either way. You're gonna get more handle material options with Bark River by far. When they do runs, you'll have 50 to 100 options probably. Whereas LT Wright, you're pretty well limited unless you kind of go to their custom shop and do a custom one. So they take that with a grain of salt. You want something super fancy like this? You want a burl? You gotta go to Bark River most likely. You want a plain Jane micarta work knife? LT Wright all day long. That's really the main differences. The LT Wright's a little lighter because it's thinner in the steel, and micarta's a little lighter, I think, than this one. I think this burl's a little weighty. Don't mind. It's gorgeous looking burl. Whew. Still pretty light. I mean, it's a perfect little belt knife. Both of these are. So final kind of comparisons will be sheaths. This is the Bark River sheath. A lot of little, strapping, lashing options. Fire steel. This is the basic LT Wright sheath, JRE Industries with a dangler. What do I like better? Oh yes, I have a fire steel holder there too. I like the JRE Industries. If you're gonna be carrying this, you're gonna be driving in the car, a drop loop helps so much because you can just swing the knife right out of the way. You don't have that with the Bark River. This is going to be on your belt. It's going to sit low, which is great, but it's not going to be moving when you hop into the car, hop into your truck, whatever. It's gonna smack against the seat, kind of be a pain in the butt. Put a drop loop on it. I call them equal. I don't really care at that point. They're very, very similar. And this actually has a couple extra layers from a guy who borrowed it, did some work on it, so got some waterproofing on there. Fantastic. Love that darker color too. Did a really good job. So yeah, that's kind of my quick overview. If you're doing true woods work, LT Wright. More of a camp knife, go for the Bark River. I think that's really where I leave it. Price-wise, Bark River's gonna be a little more on average, extra 50 bucks. Honestly, if that's your thing, go for it. If you want some extra handle material, something a little cooler, this can go from a $220 to a $400 knife, whereas the LT Wrights are more along the lines of like $180 to a $240. So these can go crazy expensive. These can stay pretty moderate, and these are not cheap. These are the higher end of bushcraft knives. Now, will I call these the ultimate bushcraft knives? I'm not quite sure. I think I'll do like a top 5 and bring out my favorites and maybe a few surprise ones in there too. But as far as being kind of a one and all, just one and done, I think you could get it done with either one of these for bushcraft work, even for camp work. These are great. I absolutely love them. They are super fun to just go out and feather stick for a couple hours with, and they won't fatigue your hand. I do have slight preferences, probably towards the LT Wright because it fits my hand a little better, and I kind of like Scandies for wood, but you go into the kitchen and this thing just takes over. It will absolutely dominate it when it comes to that sort of cutting. And as far as hunting knife, I'd take the Bark River over it as well. It's just a better setup. I like the drop in the LT Wright, but I don't like Scandi for messing with animals whatsoever. Convex is a little better in my opinion. And it doesn't have too much of a guard up here, which makes it a little more, less fun when you're inside the animal, but it'll do. I'd still probably take the Bark River over it just because I know that blade will perform a little better in that way. So more versatile, less versatile. Yes, you can get this in a saber. I still kind of like I'm gonna do that. Probably just gonna get a Bark River versus anytime I'm dealing with wood, I'm just gonna get an LT Wright. That's really where I'm at. Could that change? Sure. Do I still have that one? Yes. These are in my collection. This one I'm gonna send back. I won't be too sad because I kind of have a very similar knife, but this is a great piece. Absolutely fantastic piece. Bark River Aurora is awesome. Oh, fit and finish. I'll always say this. Like, Bark River fit and finish is a little rough. Like plunge grinds, definitely gonna be off. LT Wright plunge grind, perfection. Handle material on handle, just kind of fit and finish. Perfection on the LT Wright, and this one's actually pretty darn good. Can't really find much of a flaw anywhere on it. It's a little proud in a few spots, but the lineup is pretty darn good on this one. Just kind of the plunge grind's a little off. That's normal Bark River. Whoop-de-doo, everybody knows that. If you don't expect perfection from a Bark River. You will not get it. They'll tell you it's handmade. Well, so are all these, but these usually come with a little extra love, and for a little less cost. Keep that in mind too. So it is what it is. You have your preferences one way or the other. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these options. Well, I guess I should take the Tundra off. This wasn't about the Tundra. I love the Tundra so much though. It's about these two, and they are fantastic. The Go No Show GNS and the Aurora, both wins in my book. Hey, if you like this stuff, please hit the like button right now. Take a second, hit the like. Hit the subscribe. If you don't like this content that much, but you're still like, okay, hey, hit the subscribe anyway. Hit the like button. Help a guy out. It's much appreciated. And feel free to check out the website, outdooranalyst.com. There's affiliate links on there. Click them, buy anything that helps the channel out. Much appreciated. So thanks again. Like, subscribe. And honestly, I'm looking forward to the next one. So I will catch y'all later.